ever speed linking strategy consultation session. We've had an unprecedented number of people sign up, 258 at the last check. So this is about 100, 150 more than we've ever had before. So
yeah, we thought we might get 5.
Yeah. Well, my mom and dad are on, so you can take those 2 out.
But their website's awesome.
Yeah, they did okay. They're cool. So this is a first of its kind for us. The first time we've ever done this format. So the format is speed linking strategies, where we don't really know what we're going to be looking at. All right. So Megan's going to be tossing stuff up for us randomly from our selection. We had 100 people submit their websites. So of those 100, and of the 100 that agreed to be talked about, we'll give you 5 minutes. So you're going to see a bit of scrambling. You're going to see some umming and awing, and then you're going to see some fireworks when we start to come up with some ideas. Now, just a little bit about Eric Ward. He and I go back. I wish we could go back farther, but I just wasn't a professional when he started. But we did have an occasion to work professionally.
When I started, you were 3 years old.
I know. The internet was just a little twinkle in the eyes of
Al Gore.
This is our project here, our first project, the Ultimate Guide to Link Building from Entrepreneur Press, and real quickly, I want to give a word from our sponsors. Okay, this is the first time our webinar has had sponsors. It's actually us. So I want to quickly give you 3 reasons to sign up for Eric's Linking Strategies newsletter. Number 1, it's $8. Okay, the strategies he shares in there are worth $800. It's $8 a month. It's worth $800 easy if you follow and you follow suggestions in there. Number 2, this guy has been building links for 20 years. Okay, 20 years before Google was around, before anybody cared about search ranking. This guy's been building links. This is the grandfather of link building.
Now wait a minute. Wait a minute.
The proud older father.
I'm not that old. I started when I was 4, so I'm still just 30.
And then number 3, in 2015, he's raising prices, folks. And so you get in now. You're going to be grandfathered in or fathered in. I don't want to put the ageism on there. You can go to ericward.com and sign up there on the homepage and find his newsletter. So, all right, folks. Now the format again is a sort of Megan's going to be tossing stuff to us. We're going to be sharing our screens and looking live at these websites, your websites, to give linking strategies. We're going to have 5 minutes per website. And Megan's going to chime in at the 4-minute mark and let us know we've got 1 minute left, and then at the 5-minute mark to give us our next assignment. So, Eric, any thoughts? Anything you'd like to preface with?
Let me first say thank you to you for the kind introduction. It will be, let me see, what is the date? In 3 days, it will be exactly 20 years to the day that I had to ask Jerry Yang at Yahoo, he was still a grad student, to create a category at Yahoo for web promotion. I've still got the original email. In fact, it's on my website. So you've got me to blame for everything that's happened since then. But I'm really looking forward to this. Garrett is a genius, a brilliant thinker regarding linking strategies. And let's just dig in, man. That's the best. The best way to do it is let you guys see everything, the raw edges, the good ideas, the bad ideas, and everything, because there's only so much you can do in 5 minutes per. But let's do it.
Let's have fun. All right, let's jump in. Megan, all right, our first pitch. Let's have it.
Here we go.
All right, we're going to share screens, folks. Okie dokie. We've got, I'm going to share entire screen here. What do we got here? The website is easternapplied.com. We have metal analyzing spectrometers. Okay.
I am so incredibly excited.
Whoa! Okay. They sell industrial X-ray fluorescence equipment, B2B, for various industries with a new focus on the metals market.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Eric, what do you think?
Well, to be honest, I was poking fun, but the reality is, if I don't want to try to make things sound too simple, but I would rather have a site like this than a site that sold generic golf equipment. I'd rather have this than golfsuperstore.com that sold 18,000 golf products like everybody else. First thing I look at when I see a site like this, I want to find out what is their absolute core business. What are the things that they do? And as I go through and look through this site, I see a number of things. One of the I see on their applications, I see they have alloy analysis and metals identification. I see scrap metal recycling. So right off the bat, scrap metal recycling makes me think, well, there are probably recycling-related websites, web guides, web buyers guides, curated collections of resources. I'm going to tab over. I'm assuming you all can see my screen right now. As I Megan, let me know if you're seeing my screen.
Can you confirm, Megan?
That Recycling Today is live up on the screen?
I see it, Eric. I think we're
perfect.
Yeah.
This is a great example. Okay, why did I come to this website? Because upon looking at this particular client's website and looking at what some of the things are that they offer, I see that one of the key things they mention right up front, materials identification, scrap metal recycling. Now, just knowing how recycling is so important today to so many people, I thought, well, let me do a quick search on Google for recycling-related publications, magazines, buyers, guides, trade groups, etc. And at position 1 on my Google search, in fact, if I go back, you can probably still see my Google search. There it is. Metal Recycling Buyer's Guide was my search. And Metal Recycling Buyer's Guide, I even had a typo in there that Google fixed. That brought me to Recycling Today, and bingo, I've got a buyer's guide right here. I wouldn't be surprised if this particular client, in looking at this magazine website, looks like it's taking a little bit of time to reload there. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they see some competitors or some other websites or companies that they're extremely familiar with. And notice right here that they've got a buyer's guide, and within that buyer's guide, you likely can be included. Now, Garrett, I know. Go ahead.
One moment. I'm going back on to the applications page. So you found a scrap metal buyer's guide, right? And well, really what you found was a recycling trade publication, right?
Yes.
So I'm looking at every single one of these categories, right? They've got alloy analysis, metals identification, which underneath was scrap metal recycling. Every one of these applications is likely to have some industrial trade publication associated with it, right?
Absolutely.
And there's going to be a directory like the one you showed, and probably, and not in every case, but in many cases, my assumption is those directories are going to be attached to a trade pub as well. So a lot of times these kind of highly verticalized directories are sort of spun off from or spun into trade publications. So there's going to be a lot of trade engagement that can be done here. I wonder about the events for each one as well. If they're doing the events anyhow within these trade verticals,
absolutely.
Are they getting links from their attendants and the fact that they're there?
You bring up an interesting point there. One of the questions, I go through a series of anywhere from, I've got a questionnaire for every new client. And among the questions that I ask are, tell me any trade show you've ever attended, you've ever spoken at, you've ever paid money to be involved with. Tell me any association you're already a member of. Tell me people that you donate money to, or that you donate time or advice or strat. I mean, you can.
Guys, we're at 1 minute. 1 minute left.
Okay. Well, let me go down real quick on this list. Every single site on what their primary product lines are represents a potential link opportunity, whether it's mining applications, and one of the other ones searches I did here, you'll see mining industry trade magazines. What did that bring me to? Mining Journal. And over at Mining Journal, I find events, and at events we find out that they've got trade shows. That means sponsorship opportunities. That means a number of things. Garrett,
I've probably got 30 seconds. There's another angle that I want to throw out there, and this is related academic support documentation or support materials. So, on the history of mining, for example, the history of geology, the history of metallurgy and mixing metals, the history of how metals are crafted into tools, all this sort of stuff would be highly linkable to what is one of the biggest linking verticals out there, which is education, right? So educational links pages so if you're going if you're going to go off the beaten track a little bit and go just for linking authority, which may not drive business. Everything Eric's been talking about is going to drive business. What I'm talking about is going to potentially drive links, but it may not drive buyers, but it will drive links. So crafting content that's targeted towards education around that intersects with these
Guys, we're at time. We're at
Okay.
time for this one.
Okay.
Are we ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right.
Throw it out there.
All right.
Let's see. We've got Your Green. This is it. YourGreenPal.com. That's what I'm seeing. See,
All
it
right.
says it's an Uber for lawn mowing. Oops. Back over here. Your Green Pal. I think I've looked at these guys before. They may have been on our last. So let's see what we've got here. Lawn mowing made easy. Get free bids. So I'm guessing this is something. Lead generation for lawn service. Okay, so I was actually more interested when it said Uber for lawn mowing. I thought it meant I could borrow somebody else's lawnmower, right? So they would bring a lawnmower. I'd be interested in that as a service. I don't like to cut the grass. And
I love that. Would you check and see if Uber Mower is available as a domain?
Let's go get it. It might be, but so to take it a step back though. The first thing I would ask is, where are they concentrated geographically? You know, is there an area where they've got more, that they're doing better business or where they're ranking better already? Because lead gen, especially services lead gen, is very much a local. There's very much a local push there, and you've got to have a lot of local signals so that you'll be ranking locally, but nationally, if that makes sense. So you're going to want to have some city, some city type pages set up, and maybe you look at creating content around some of the legalities of fertilizing in certain cities. Are there restrictions around these types of things that are, where there are laws that are, geographically can control what you can and can't put on your lawn? Are there rules are there any rules or restrictions around lawn mowing that people need to know regionally? And I would start to look at that as a beginning, and then secondarily, maybe some content around where best places to get your lawnmower fixed locally. I know that's not exactly relevant to what they sell, so it's not necessarily going to drive business, but it could be a solid piece of content that for kind of the DIYers, maybe lawnmower repair stuff could be useful.
Yeah, they've got, first question I'd ask this client, I mean, if this is a national site that's basically trying to be a lead gen site for lawn mowing services, well, they've got a problem, because as Google has made it clear, all searches to some extent have a local component to them. Yeah. So this is not a company, GreenPal is probably not a company that has a physical location in thousands of US cities. So Google, they're going to have a tremendously powerful link profile to be able to show up high in the rankings for the generic search phrase like lawn care services. Because if I'm logged into Google right now and I do a search on lawn care services, I almost guarantee you I'm going to get local results for right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And that's where GreenPal wants to play. And I'm not saying that it can't happen for them, but the kind of I divide their strategies into two areas. One is they've got that national element where they would love to rank no matter where somebody's doing the search from, but they've also got that guy in Knoxville, Tennessee who does not type in a regional qualifier like Knoxville lawn mowing services. He just types in lawn mowing services. Yeah. And they're going to have to develop their linking strategy is going to have to be divided among local in every single market that they feel is important to them, as well as national. I'm not saying it can't be done, but the reality is in today's world, as Google's algorithm has gotten more sophisticated, there's only going to be so much that they can hope to accomplish on a national level. Because mostly what Google wants to do is steer people to what they consider to be the best. If they feel that there is a local element to anybody's particular search, they're going to feed them a local result. And can GreenPal, if I do it, well, let's...
They do. If you scroll to the bottom, Eric, they have an area served. I just noticed, and it looks like they're strongest in Tennessee, your backyard. So that's pretty interesting. So if you have an area of concentration, a genuine area of concentration, then things get a lot more interesting. You can really...
Guys, we're at 1 minute left.
All right, Garrett, do me a favor. Do a quick Google search on Nashville, Tennessee lawn mowing services.
have a new a new keyboard.
I mean, we know that's an area they serve.
Nashville.
National Area Lawn Mowing Services. And let's hope that we see GreenPal. Okay, so there's the local box, and there's GreenPal at position 2.
There they are.
Oh, look, they've actually got a
guys.
physical location. And that's what enabled them to make it into the local box. So what I'm wondering is their strategy to actually have a physical location, because ultimately that's what they're going to have. Long term, as we continue throughout the years, that site, I hate to say this, that site is over unless it starts to increase and expand its presence in the local areas where it hopes to do business.
They have as far as authority goes, they have a scholarship. I don't dislike scholarships in general. I think it's a solid approach for building authority. I would look at expanding outside of just scholarships, though. I think they are, I think they'll continue to be a solid way forward for link building. But I'd also look for them at, is there a way to get some of these local guys to cut the grass at the homeless shelter?
That's exactly where I was going. There's older folks that are empty nesters that are old and their kids live across the country. Mow people's yards for free. They're usually not big yards.
For it.
I see it. I mean, how sad is it when you're driving around town and you see some 78-year-old guy out there struggling to mow his grass?
Right.
So whether it's working with some of the senior areas or what have you, there's plenty of opportunities there.
Get some press coverage around that as well. And really, again, focus just on in Tennessee and in the areas where you're already strong. Find out what works, and then expand it as you grow the company or as you grow the
okay, we're at time. Are you guys ready for the next one?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Evermine.
More mining? No, it's not mining.
We've got labels, beer labels, wedding invitations, custom photo cards. They said they've been doing custom blog content. I'm going to check out their blog. And Eric, do you have any starting thoughts?
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Megan, because you're putting me on the spot here because I didn't know this site was coming. So basically, anybody that's listening is going to hear me really coming off extemporaneously. First thing I'm looking at their nav across what they offer, and I see products, wedding, holiday, food and beverage, baby and kids, birthday occasions, business. I'm going to immediately go to food and beverage because I think I got an idea. And when I go to food and beverage, I immediately start seeing things like canning. Oh, wow, wine labels. Do you know how many individual independent wineries there are? Just in East Tennessee, we've got like 20 of them, and I'll probably spend as much time as possible at all of them over the Christmas holidays because I have 3 kids. But regardless about that, I mean, these guys basically will help custom design and print a label, whether it's for your homebrewed beer, whether it's for the Sweetwater Winery, which is in Sweetwater, Tennessee. And this type of site has all kinds of potential link opportunities, discounted, whether it's a discount, whether it's outreach to offer custom design services. Think about how many thousands of different mom-and-pop wineries, microbreweries are out there. And then, let's take it to the next level. I'm going to do a real quick search on, I'm in Tennessee. Let me do a search on Tennessee Winery Association. I don't know if there is one or not, so I'm going to take a chance on failing badly right in front of you. Okay, TennesseeWines.com, Tennessee Wine Grow. Okay, bingo. If that company, Evernote, what was it called?
Evernote, yeah.
Okay,
Evermine.
Evermine, absolutely, positively, in my opinion, and I'm not saying I'm right every time, I'm wrong a lot, but this is the exact, think about how many different organizations like this there are all over the country. They need to be a member of this organization. Why? Because every single wine grower that really takes themselves remotely seriously in the state of Tennessee is a member of the Tennessee Wine Growers Alliance. What a great audience for this company to get its message in front of. If you sell custom-made labels for, and that's why I went to that particular menu section, the beverages, and I'm sure that I could say the same thing for a number of their different categories, but it's obvious. I mean, here we got a bottle of wine here. Think about canning. I mean, my grandmother was totally into that. If I do a search on something like the I have no idea if I'm going to, Southeastern Canning club, association, alliance. I have no idea if I'm going to find one, and then I'll shut up and let you go, Garrett, because I don't want to dominate the talking here. So here we do a search on the Southeastern Canning Association. The Association of Southeast, no, don't want that. The Alaska Packers, don't want that. Did I have a typo? Southeastern
Canning Association. Take out the region.
Okay, that's cool. Let me take out that. But our listeners probably can already see where I'm heading. Okay, the National Center for Home Preservation. Okay, okay. The California. We're not just talking canning here. We're talking peaches.
I love it.
Okay, so now we have They have actually publications. Seriously,
Yeah.
Are we going to sponsor? I see links.
No, what I love here. One note. They do a lot of variety of what they're selling, right? Even within products. You nail down wines and canning and beer, which are actually all of them just absolutely exploding now. But one of the questions is that needs to be asked internally is where are our biggest profit margins, or where do we see the most growth? Because not everything is going to have, for example, the baby announcements. They're probably you're not going to have that association B2B approach. And it looked like, just as a side note, their blog itself was going much more of a consumer focus. So we definitely see a B2B kind of approach, which would be the trade publications, the associations, and then this B2C approach, holiday DIY, how to do things in the holiday spirit with some of our products. Looks like they're using Pinterest.
Guys, we're at 1 minute.
Looks like you're using Pinterest too for getting their pictures out there, and I see some gorgeous pictures here. So they're definitely doing some neat stuff. Oh, and they have recipes actually published on the pictures, right, directly to the pictures, which is a really interesting direction. And then here they are down here, instructions. This is gorgeous. We've done in the past recipe promotion. It's actually really tough because everybody does recipes. There's lots and lots of recipes. So my one thought would be recipes for for making with someone who's maybe disabled, or someone who is a senior and can't get around as well as they used to. But so that there's a bit more of a tie-in, or a bit more of a pop with a group that is press friendly, I guess, or where people are excited about stories around this group of people.
Absolutely.
So these are I mean, obviously they're beautiful and wonderful, but and they're very high end. I would look to sweeten my outreach and to make outreach more effective, and not effective necessarily, but just to appeal to different groups of people. I would look for intersections with some of the core kind of linkable demographics, which is definitely seniors, disabilities, any kind of kids, safety, any kind of safety intersections you can do as well. I would look at exploring some of those things.
Notice over on the right-hand side, it says, want to contribute to the Evernote blog, read our submission guidelines. Let me ask you just a hypothetical question. How many people right now, a day, do you think are doing the following search? Gluten-free Christmas cookies.
Oh, my goodness. That's good, Eric. I didn't think about that, but yeah, gluten-free, any kind of gluten-free.
Gluten-free Christmas cookies right now is probably absurdly, spiking in terms. So what a great time for you to put out some sort of recipe that's related to that.
That's not necessarily going to be, I don't think, they don't sell cookies, though.
Right.
Maybe they do. Do they? Oh, they do.
But regardless.
Guys, we're out of time for these, unfortunately.
Oh, no, that's their blog.
We're out of time for the cookies.
That's okay.
More cookies.
Are you ready for the next one?
More cookies. No, I think I don't know if they sell. They don't actually sell food products, so that traffic wouldn't necessarily be selling traffic for them. So the recipe work they've been doing, I don't know that necessarily is going to bring in customers. So that's one. I would also look at. I would look at an audience survey. Who have your past customers been? What kind of content are they looking for would be useful to them? I think it's going to be more of a B2B almost.
I know, and I know this sounds like heresy, but sometimes the best links aren't necessarily links that will bring you direct customers. They're links that resonate with somebody who really desperately needs a solution or that solves a problem, then ends up sharing that on Facebook. I found this amazing gluten-free Christmas cookie recipe. That gets shared on Facebook. They have 17,000 friends and followers, and before you know it, it ends up as a static link in somebody else's blog that happens to be related related, and they do end up getting customers. So I think that some people, whether it's this site about golf or any site, what I see a lot of people doing is missing the forest for the trees. It's almost like they think if a link cannot convert to a sale, then that link is pointless. And I can give you countless examples where that is absolutely not the case. Links beget links in some amazing places.
Links beget links. I think that's one of the key takeaways from that, Eric. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I do see that happen all the time. Our next up, and Megan, will you start the timer from now? Because now we're finally starting to talk about it. So U.S. golf camps, the ultimate junior golf camp experience. Now this is one where a scholarship makes a lot of sense, and I'd be very excited. I think it would be a very easy thing to promote from a link building perspective. Would be a scholarship to attend one of these camps.
No doubt. The scholarship model makes absolute perfect sense. The thing I would advise, though, is have some sort of connection to the sport of golf, or to you. Not to sound cynical, but there's nothing I hate more than when somebody just decides to offer a scholarship or a student discount or whatever just because that's a link that will help me at Google.
Right.
What I'll typically suggest to people is, what are you passionate about? What do you do when you're not working? And someone, some client will say, well, he'll be an accountant, and he'll say, well, I'm big into golf, or I'm a cyclist, or my wife and I actually, run these, do these husband-wife triathlon things. And I'll say, oh, you're into golf? You play golf? Well, even though you're an accountant, let me tell you a little bit about an organization that might make sense for you to offer a scholarship or some type of other stipend, or help a disadvantaged kid get to go to this golf camp because it's something you're actually passionate about. It's so much easier to help people get behind an outreach, publicity, and linking strategy if they have some passion for the topic in the first place. Absolutely,
absolutely. And it looks like they are publishing, but off-site, so they've got an about.com. They've gotten in, and the writers at about.com is what I think is going on.
That's pretty sweet. I don't know if that came about organically or if they lobbied about.com for that, but that's a pretty well. Yes, I'm seeing some anchor. I'm seeing some anchor text there. I see it says college golf, so.
I don't think that goes to that. That goes back into about.com. So
okay, so long as it stays on domain, I'm cool. I'm cool with it. But yeah, there are so many. Golf's an expensive sport, and it no matter how helping people, especially the young people, get out there and play is a absolute noble cause. Absolutely consider something like that. I think that makes perfect sense.
They've got an interesting. They've got some good links from instruction pages. It looks like that may be a sort of run of site thing, but and this is just. I love to look at the backlink profiles just to get some ideas of what's already started to happen.
Yep.
And I'm seeing a few probably more directory type stuff. So I would also look and say I think some competitor backlink analysis would be useful for these guys in particular because they're so focused. Some of the label, some of the label company that there's so much competition around that. There's so many labeling type companies. Whereas golf instruction, golf camps, there probably aren't too many of those. The second would be is just how do we demonstrate that our camps are effective? Can we call up our previous attendees from the golf camp? Can we get them involved in some way and ask them for their stories, and then pitch these stories, the impact of golf camp on my professional career as a golfer?
Every single one of these golfers has got a camera in their pocket and is probably a member of Instagram. I don't need to say. I don't have to say anymore. 1 minute, guys. I got 1 minute. Garrett, would you allow me to do a little bit of a rant on third-party linking analysis tools and just shut me up if I go too far?
I want to say one thing before you do it. and that
Go
is,
ahead.
I think there's, and this is just from a quick glance, but I don't know for sure. I think there's an overemphasis of off-site content that's useful, high utility, I would call it. You know, tips for juniors who want to play college golf. This is juicy stuff. This is great. But now About is ranking for that. I want these guys to rank for that.
Yeah.
And so I want to see, I don't see, maybe it's on the site and I just don't see it. I was poking around. I didn't look at their if they don't, I don't see a site map. But I would like to see more high utility content on site. Okay, Rant, go.
Okay. Well, first of all, I like when I see about.com rank, because to me that means opportunity. That means Google saying it can't find anything anything out there it likes more. And to be honest, not all about.com content really deserves the rank that it's gets. So some of the about.com guides are awesome. And I say this as somebody that actually was a consultant to them for 4 years when they used to be the mining company, and I was a consultant to them all the way through the name change as they went from the mining company to about.com. So I love about.com. This is before the New York Times bought them. At the same time, many about.com guides are very weak on content. Others are tremendous. Now, as far as backlink data goes, the only reason that companies that provide third-party backlink data exist, and I don't want to say their names, we all know who the big three are. They exist because Google won't tell us everything we want to know about links. If Google would tell us everything we wanted to know about links, those companies would go out of business tomorrow. Now here's the key thing. When you rely on those third-party tools, you are not relying on Google. Google can crawl into the deep nooks and crannies of the web. They can go as deep as they want. They have more money than they ever will be able to spend. They've got hundreds of PhDs that they can put to work on an algorithm, whereas third-party companies have to make decisions like, gee, how deep into the web do we need to crawl? We already know that these are nothing more than Russian blog networks, so why should we even waste crawl and server and disk space crawling 87 million Russian blog posts that we know are all part of the network? But Google wants to crawl those because Google uses those as a diagnostic tool to be able to find the crap. So in any words, what I'm trying to say is, don't rely solely and only on any third-party backlink data. When people ask me what's the absolute best tool to develop a linking strategy, I will say a little bit of everything and then dig into Google. Become Google. Become one.
Now, one other note one thing I would love to see from U.S. golf camps is the impact. The business impact of golf on someone's life, right? So if I go to golf camp, I'm 14, I go to golf camp, will I make more money because I'm able to engage in an activity where business is often done? I'm not a golfer. I've never done golf on done business on a golf course, but I think that it still happens there. And if you can create a business case for parents that this is something that if you spend a couple $1,000s for your kid, that they're going to end up making another $500,000 over their lifetime, that if you can kind of prove that in some way, that would be another sort of a very interesting data point. And I think that's something you could build a lot of a big press story around if something like that exists. And I think that will come out from surveys, from previous customer surveys. You can sort of start to tease that information out. The other thing I would definitely say is, again, on as far as a previous customer survey, ask the parents, what kinds of content are their kids into? Like, is there a golf magazine for kids for kids that are at this age?
Oh, I love that.
And maybe there isn't. And if there isn't, then you start to do profiles of some of the young stars. Right.
No, I'm sure that there is. That is absolutely brilliant. And when there's a golf magazine for kids, man, that doesn't mean that you just look for a links page on that. And, oh, darn, there's no links page, so no link opportunity for me. Sometimes your strategy has to go a little bit deeper and be a little bit more longer thinking. The link will come. Right. Down the road, but sometimes that's one of the biggest things I have to convey to clients is that we are developing a relationship where the residual impact will really show up later. I think those are all brilliant ideas.
So and that's the other thing is you could recommend you could recommend your previous students for profiles, right, within a golf magazine should something like that exist. Have we got?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're over, guys. We need to go on to skis.com.
Okay, should we do that one, or should we possibly take a break to do our, if any of you people watching have watched a webinar before, I'm sure you're quite familiar with that middle of the webinar kind of 1 minute break where you are asked to take a poll question.
Okay, we'll do a quick poll then, folks.
Garrett, do you think it might be time for the poll question?
Let's do. Megan, are we moving on to our 6th? Let's do it.
We're moving on to our 5th, actually.
Let's do it. Let's take our poll now.
Okay.
So guys,
all right.
Get a drink of water or something. But
all right. Here's today's poll question. Don't be scared as I
wait. What's going on?
Unbuttoning my shirt. Okay, hold on.
Oh boy.
Today's poll question.
Are you sure you're sharing screen? Oh jeez.
Hold on. Let me make sure I'm sharing screen.
I mean, make sure you're not sharing screen so we can see your video. Here's a poll.
Okay.
I can see you. I presume.
Screen share. All right. So I'm assuming that you are now seeing my screen.
Oh, actually, sorry. We don't want to see your screen. We want to see your camera.
There we go. All right. So let's go back to me.
Yeah,
You seeing me now?
I can see you now.
Here is today's poll question.
Wait a second. What is this I'm looking at here? I'm trying to click. I can't. Is this your shirt?
This is my Okay. Today's poll question, brought to you by our sponsors, Citation Labs and ericward.com, is,
oh boy,
Matt Cutts is one of the following: awesome, not awesome.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and click, everybody.
Hold on. Okay. I have chosen awesome, and hold on, I want to share it with my followers.
Is that working?
It's not working.
What?
No, the JavaScript. It's not working.
Folks, we're gonna put this shirt up on YouTube also after the. Okay. I'm sorry, on eBay after.
Okay, and we'll give you the results of this poll at the end to see. Currently, it looks like awesome is beating not awesome by about a 1-to-0 ratio.
Wow. 100%.
Okay, so thank you very much to everybody for taking the time to participate in our sponsor survey. It's important that our sponsors, Eric and Garrett, feel as though they're getting their value from this webinar. So,
thank you.
Okay, moving on then.
Skis. This one, I don't know skiing. I wonder about. Well, we're just looking at the golf school. I wonder about like ski school ratings. I think could be interesting if you're going to get outside of product stuff. So if there was obviously college rankings and college ratings are huge. So if I was getting outside of, if we're going to find a way to measure the quality of a ski school and the value of a ski school, I think that could be pretty interesting. Because I know that's something that could be a very linkable asset. I think also a strong way to go is looking for some of the more niche sports within skiing. So I think there's a number of kind of sort of within skiing. There's that when you're doing. I'm betraying my lack of ski knowledge. Where you're sort of showing where you're doing tricks.
Yeah.
You ski down a mountain and you go and you do tricks. Freestyle, maybe that's called. There's but I think skiing at the highest level, at the skis.com level, is probably is going to be tough to crack into. So I would look for the kind of where are the edges? Where can we do a minimal amount of work and have a maximum impact with some of the fringe and highly enthusiastic, highly rabid skiers. Who are they within the whole skiing community? And that'd be the other thing I would ask, especially on a consumer site, is well, you need to ask this for every site, but who are our core target businesses for this website? Our core target markets. Is it moms? Who buys? I think that's one of the questions I would be my starting point for a linking strategy for these guys. Who are our buyers, and what content do we need to use to get in front of them? We take a guess, just looking at some of their categories. I see kids clothing, women's clothing. I might do something like ski safety for kids. The ski safety guide for kids. I don't know if this is one of their categories or not. I would look at ski safety for seniors. So there's going to be a group of seniors, 70 plus, who want to ski or are already skiers, and there might be some specific kind of skiing safety advice that you can provide for them. And that's where you could look into building links from senior exercise type pages, links pages, resource pages. So I've always been my specialty has always been a focus on links and resource pages. So that's where I start to think first. I would look at disabilities. Skiing with disabilities. What kinds of resources are out there? What kinds of guides are out there? What kind of products are out there? Maybe that's a whole spin-off site. But that's an area where there's going to be some people who are just really interested in getting their kids involved, but there may not be the right equipment. If you can provide that equipment or provide guidance on selecting that equipment or where to find it even, if you don't sell it, that starts to become a very linkable asset because it's a popular topic that gets intersected with a very popular or very linking audience. So there's lots of links happen in the disabilities vertical, lots of links happen in the seniors vertical, lots in the parenting and child safety vertical. So I look for intersections with all those. And of course there's health. The benefits of heart health and skiing. What kinds of intersections are there, if any? Sort of would be some of the questions I'd be asking. And then of course looking at the kind of the target markets that exist within your core
Guys,
business.
we're at 1 minute for the skis.
Oh goodness, Eric, go.
No, that's okay. What I would say is this is a great example of a site. If you'll scroll back up to the top, and I don't know if it's on my site or not, but or on my screen. This is a great example of a site that I would call like the 800-pound gorilla. Absolutely fantastic domain. It has all of the primary main brands. You probably can't, this is probably one of those sites where the overwhelming majority of products that you can buy here, you could buy at a bunch of other websites too. So in terms of unique product lines, probably not. I mean, I can probably buy a pair of Salomon ski boots anywhere. I don't have to buy it at skis.com. So the reality is when I look at a site like this, my hunch is when I check their backlink profile, I'm going to feel like there's not as much work to do there as much as there might be more forward-thinking kind of strategies that help get me to an audience in a different way than via a web interface. And here's what I mean by that. The next generation of skiers. I mean, the skis.com is already, I mean, it's such an incredibly popular site. And what I mean by that is putting out beginning ski lesson vouchers and discounts and reaching out to finding out to reach out to schools all over the country with some sort of learning how to ski clubs at high schools. There are thousands of those. There's a number. I'd look for ski conditions apps that are published by people that are not competitors, and I'd look at partnering with them so that as that app loads, that I see a splash screen for skis.com. In other words, look for other ways across other platforms and other devices to help build your brand, because my hunch is that's a pretty potent brand from a linking perspective already.
Yeah, if you look at their look at them in SEMrush, which of course is you have to take with a grain of salt, like all data or data providers. They're pretty solid. They're number 2 for ski, number 3 for skiing, number 2 for skis, which I'm sure they're enjoying a lot of great business and enormous amounts of traffic from that.
Yeah, I'm not as interested in trying to build them another 30 links a month. I don't think it helps them. What I'm interested in is helping push their brand into places where it hasn't been found yet.
Yeah, I like it. Now, Eric, are you able to share your screen? I'm concerned that we're not.
Yeah, it says I'm screen sharing now, which I thought when I talked meant it showed my screen, but I don't know.
Sure. So we're looking at Viva Latina.fr. So the site is in French, so we're going to be at a bit of disadvantage, as the French say. So let's see. I might well, I can look at this and get some ideas. I'm looking at a silver jewelry website. Okay. I see an ebook, I believe.
Okay. Now, when I talk, did my screen just show up I'm not sure if it's working or not. I'm also on the same exact website. I'm just not quite sure when I'm talking if you guys are seeing it as well.
I'm not sure either. Maybe.
Yeah, we're seeing your screen.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
So I'm looking at an ebook that they have, a guide to, I don't know what that is, something in silver. So
Can I comment? Can I comment on that popover? Can I go ahead and comment on that popover?
Yeah.
Do you appreciate our work? Well, I might have if you haven't have thrown this in my face. I was just looking at a beautiful piece of jewelry. I'm not a big fan of those. In fact, I would say that
It interrupts your experience.
Yeah, don't try to incentivize me to click your Google. In fact, if there was a Google minus button right there, I'd be clicking it over and over and over and over, just because I find those incredibly annoying. But anyway, there's whoever the company is that sold that to them is probably now cursing me and sending a denial of service to my website. But anyway.
No, this is interesting. It looks like you know, almost a lifestyle website, or it feels small, and I like the feel of it. It feels the owners feel accessible, and I like that as well. I don't know what I would say for them to go out on a and do guest posting on necessarily. It says that that's what they've been doing. I'm looking at what tactics have worked for them so far, and they say guest posting. I wouldn't know where to recommend for them to guest post, but certainly I would almost say looking at people who have, you know, small business type blogs. They're not going to drive customers necessarily, but their story, I think, looks compelling. I'm just looking at their contact page. So a Franco-Mexican couple, you know, I think there's an interesting story there, and I don't know what it is, but I think that's something that's worth sort of teasing out.
I'm interested in this right here, where it says that the work is created by Mexican artisans. If that is in fact true, and it's not just a bunch of people, in a factory, I would like to know more about the artisans. I would like to know more about the background. In fact, this is a strategy I've recommended for several clients who have very specialized jewelry websites, where they aggregate together jewelry made by 15, 20, 30, 40 different artisans, where we do artist profiles as an entirely new content section. And one of the reasons I like that is because when you decide to do a profile on a person and you give them their own standalone URL on your jewelry site, and where you profile the artists, and then you put share buttons on there, and you have an interview with them, and you have questions with them, what do you think that person's going to do? It's so easy for them to then share that with their constituency, whether they're on Facebook or on Twitter or on Google Plus or whatever. I'm a very big fan in identifying or recognizing the expertise of those people who are providing you with your products and featuring them, making them the celebrity, not your site, but the people who help populate your site with your products.
Right.
And write stories about them, because everybody, I've been doing this 20 years, and when somebody does an interview with me, I still tweet that out to my follow. I got 20,000 people I can tell about yet another interview I did, but I still do it because, and what I'm doing.
Folks, I'm not sure if we're still live here or not. We had a server error, it looks like.
And I sold via their website, and they did a profile of me, and they told me, okay, here's the profile page where we featured you. Well, I'm going to share that on Twitter with 30,000 people. And what am I sharing on Twitter? A URL to them.
Right.
So guys, we have 1 minute left.
Yep, that's probably the biggest change since when I started to today, Garrett, I would say, is everybody in the world, or just about everybody in the world, is a link builder today. They just don't think of themselves that way. And what I mean by that is, on social media, whether you're on Twitter or Facebook or the 6 people that are on Google Plus or whatever else, all of the other various Pinterest, Stumble Upon, there are so many different. There's social networks for people who are into Harley Davidsons. But the point of this is, it is so much easier with the click of a mouse to migrate or propagate a URL across the web, just like skipping a stone across a lake that never existed in the early 90s.
Right.
I think content publicity is way easier now than it used to be. What's harder is developing the proper strategy and executing it.
Yes.
But when you do that, man, the URLs can get right to where they need to get so much easier today.
One quick thought for Viva Latina. Also,
yeah.
You mentioned the artisan profiles. I love it, and I wonder about writing them in Spanish or Spanish and French, so that you could then promote the artisan profiles to the newspapers in the cities where they live, and work to build some publicity from the Mexican language newspapers.
Oh, that's a brilliant idea, because that's exactly where you could start to pick up links that would show your link profile to be truly unique, because you'd have links from Spanish language websites.
Right, and I wonder if there's some way of getting Spanish government websites to link as well. I don't know what that would be necessarily, but perhaps if you created content around touring, Spanish, or sorry, the Mexican silver artisan capitals of the world, kind of guides to finding great artisanal jewelers in silver in Mexico. Put it in Spanish, put it in English, but then, if it's a tourism document, it's a tourism guide, but it's also related to the website, and you could build links potentially. I don't know for sure, but you could potentially build links from some Mexican government and Mexican tourist-oriented web pages.
I would say that although it would definitely be a tough get, but I think it's worth it, just because the essence of this site is to highlight some of the magnificent things that are taking place by Mexican citizens.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going back. We're looking at Fluid Review now. Fluid Review. So we're looking at. Let me check back here. They manage grant and scholarship processes, and they've been getting links from their clients. I see a resources section, help desk stuff. I'm still not understanding. So, okay. So this is it's something you would put on your website so that people could submit their applications to you, and you could manage the process of selecting from the group of applications. Review and select your candidates. I got it. For scholarships, grants. Interesting. Very interesting. So let's see.
So just to make sure
colleges are using them.
Colleges use this.
Yeah, and grants would be from government agencies. So links from their customers would be sort of built-in awesome there.
So what Fluid Review wants is to sell this service to universities.
Universities and government agencies that provide grants. So there's a couple different angles. One is definitely the B2B angle that we've talked about for other websites that Eric's mentioned, is looking for the trade pubs around, because there's got to be, I presume, I don't know who it is that assigns or awards scholarships, admissions offices perhaps. My gut is that there's going to be a trade pub that's relevant or is within that kind of domain. And then you look at what kinds of content needs, and if there isn't, then hallelujah, you make it. But if there is, but you're looking for what content needs do admission managers have. What problems are they facing? How can you help them streamline their day-to-day job? And you're looking at essentially guest post placements in the trade pubs. Would be one thought.
Absolutely. I don't know if you're seeing my screen or not. I apologize, because I'm never quite sure at this point if it is showing my screen, but I've just done a search on, and I know this because I spent a few years working in academia before I started my company, the Chronicle of Education. Man, if you're a company and your primary audience is universities, I mean, then I would go to the Chronicle, because the Chronicle of Education, which is a print publication that also has a online companion, I don't know whether or not they're going to have a buyer's guide. You certainly could advertise. And, that's the other thing we probably need to talk about today is, just because you've paid for a link doesn't make it a link that violates Google's quality guidelines. I mean, after all, Google makes the overwhelming majority of its money from paid links.
Right.
The other thing I see here is they have newsletters. Well, who do these newsletters go to? What about sponsoring or advertising with, you know, academic, breaking news extras, the weekly briefing, the Chronicle Review, graduate students, the global newsletter? Basically, what I'm showing here is publication, a website and newsletters that go straight to university decision makers. And is that not who this company needs to reach? Now, in 5 minutes, I can't tell you exactly who that decision maker is. I need a little bit more time to do a little bit more research, but I guarantee you within 30 minutes, I'm going to have the exact person that I need to get the message from Fluid Review in front of.
Right.
Then the next question becomes, how do I do that most appropriately? And this is all part of the strategy. And it's not just send them an email and saying, to whom it may concern, we got something that'll really help you all. I mean, no, it's not like that. I mean, unfortunately, my inbox still shows that's how people are doing it. But the idea here that I like to look at is, okay, Fluid Review, who is it that how do you make your money? Well, we make our money by signing colleges on to use our system. Really? How do you advertise and market to colleges? That's what I want to learn more about. Yeah. And this is just one of several different possible publications that I know is considered the absolute mothership of credibility across all of all universities. You have to have a presence on this site. If you're Fluid Review, you have to have a presence on this site in
whether
some
it's advertising
form or
fashion.
Yeah, even if you got to pay for it.
Now, one other thought.
Guys, we have 1 minute left for these guys.
Okay.
One thought is I'm not super sold on what I'm about to say because it doesn't target their audience, their target market. But one thing they may or may not have access to, and I wouldn't know this, but is who is getting selected for scholarships, and if they can aggregate that data and look for, is there some kind of commonality among the scholarships that get awarded that they can determine. I don't know that the universities that are using them would necessarily be comfortable with them. But sharing that kind of data if it was available. But what goes into a winning scholarship application? This would be a guide for students. But from our analysis of the scholarships that are awarded, here are the characteristics of the scholarship applications.
Yep, I think it's possible. It may also be that each university is given the right or the authority to toggle exactly what it's looking for. I only want a straight A student who can speak 9 languages, or I'm looking for that student who's wanting to have a study so and so. One other thing that might be worth doing, and I'm not sharing my screen right now, but every university has got a financial. Let me share my screen again real quick. Share my screen and that one. One last quick search. I know we're running out of time. Who are the people at the universities that make these decisions? Well, they're the financial aid officers. So I'm going to do a real quick search on the National Association of Financial Aid. I'll try officers. Let's see if I get lucky there. I don't know if that's what they're called, but I'm going to find them somewhere. Here we go, administrators. There we go. So here's our mothership out of 1.4 million. Here's who shows up first. These more than likely are the exact people. I mean, these guys are in charge of financial aid. They've got to dole out the scholarships and deal with all the paperwork and all. I mean, they definitely have a wonderful job, but they've got a headache job. These are the exact kind of people for whom Fluid Review can help make their life easier. So how do I get in front of these people and make their life easier? Well, I don't know. Maybe I join this association. Maybe I look for a way to attend their national conference. Maybe I sponsor the Wi-Fi at their conference. Maybe I sponsor the mixer afterwards and buy them all a drink. Maybe I exhibit at the conference. It's in New Orleans. That's going to be fun. But what I'm saying is, this might look expensive to spend that much, to spend $4,200 on a booth in New Orleans. But when my entire audience are the exact people who can say yes to me, that's money. Well, I'd rather do that. I mean, I have people calling me on the phone that are spending that much money on 5 links a month that aren't even helping them.
Right.
So
one note I'd say is I'm looking at their website, and overall the content that I'm seeing is very it's very oriented around helping people use the product, as opposed to helping people with their kind of digging into the core market segments that use it and having content that's a little more helpful overall to them accomplishing their daily tasks.
Yep.
Not just so how do you streamline what's the best way to tell someone that they didn't get accepted, that they're not going to get a scholarship? Those sorts of qualitative types of a little more story to them, a little more heart to them, and a little more guidance around things that are not necessarily just using the tool, but a little more audience-centric. I'm not audience-centric. Tool use is very audience-centric, but it's just a little more general help for this audience.
And they've got a blog. One of the things I would like for them to do is find one of the people find a university who is using Fluid Review, and do an interview with somebody who can give feedback along the lines of, this Fluid Review has saved me countless hours of paperwork, of deciding, of vetting my various scholarship applicants based upon various criteria that I like to select and tweak. It also helps me with the process of reaching out and contacting them. In other words, some real case study reviews about how Fluid Review helped a very specific. I think they should have a section on their website about Fluid Review in action, where they do a couple of interviews.
They do have case studies. I did see case studies.
Excellent.
I forget where. Yeah, they looked good. I didn't dig into them, but I did notice them. I think the site's wonderful, and I agree. Building that presence out through advertising on the right sites, and then looking for a way to get some either essentially guest blogging, but writing for some of these top sites, or looking for starting to build the relationships that can establish a PR, overall long-term PR engagement with some of the top publishers. Ultimately,
they need to build a relationship with the people who write the checks and make the decisions to have Fluid Review installed on the university's servers or computers, and you can find them. You can find them in the trade publications.
I wonder if the IT guys too. I wonder if there's like IT at the EDU level, if there aren't trade shows.
Guys, we're way over time for these guys.
Okay. All right. Well,
as much as I like them,
I'm perfectly willing to hang out for a few minutes.
How many do we have left, Megan?
We have 4.
We have 4 left.
3 left. 3 left.
We really have that many left. That makes me wonder if we should keep going because we're at an hour, or if we should just do another one of these right after Christmas. What do you think?
I'm okay with pushing through. Eric, are you okay with pushing?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's push. And then I'd like to do another one. I just want to grind through all these so we can deliver on our 10.
Sure.
Oh boy, what do we got here? ppunch.com, precision punch, defining excellence.
More incredibly gripping content.
This reminds me of the first folks we started with.
I make fun, but this is the kind of site I'd rather work with. This site, to me, is the easy site because it's going to have a very narrow collection of verticals that I can go after. Right. I mean, and oftentimes on the website, it will even tell you. It'll give you the various terms that help steer you toward those industry trade magazines, those curated resource lists, those lists of manufacturers or resellers or what have you, those buyer's guides we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking for an applications section. This is one thing. I don't know if that was useful to me on the first website we looked at that showed the kind of industries that to which the services and applied. And I'm not seeing that. That would be helpful to me. I don't know that it would be helpful to every customer. Not every customer is as industrially ignorant as I am. But I think that could be, for me, would be very useful. I see mold components. I don't think they're talking about common mold in the house. Fin die tooling, medical drill and burr blanks. I can start to figure out what that is. Ammunition tooling. That's the first one that where something really popped off because I'm sure there's a DIY ammunition making community out there. Ammunition building and making. and so not necessarily that they need to target that market, but that's one area where there's probably a lot of content.
Oh yeah, I think also that every one of these you're going to have professional societies, organizations, etc., where people that need to keep up with the cutting edge of this are hanging out, reading, subscribing, etc., and those would be very important. I am, like you, I'm a little bit surprised. I think that there is a content element to this site that is hampering it. And I'll give you an example. If you would, click on the About Us link. The About Us link tells me in paragraph 2 that this company has been around 40 years,
wow.
50 years, or whatever. My math is bad. I would love it if this, I'm sure that they've got some sort of archival photographs, something, somewhere on somebody's shelves is a fascinating story. And I hate to tell an old-timey story, but one of my, way back in the early 90s, one of my clients was Ford Motor Company, the first launch of Ford.com.
Wow.
And one of the things that we talked about was the incredible amount. I mean, there's a Ford museum, and they didn't even, they had the cart before the horse. I was like, really, nobody cares about Ford.com. Well, I mean, they do. I mean, yeah, I want to log on and see the Ford Explorer, whatever. But you know what? You know what's going to attract attention? The Ford Museum, because teachers are going to love that. You're going to be able to show the Model T. You're going to have archival photographs of Henry Ford. You're going to have some amazing documents that were handwritten by him. Ford Museum is exactly what's going to be the massive traffic driver to your main site. Now, I'm not saying that ppunch.com, Precision Punch, has got that same thing, but when I find a company's been around since 1965, and was founded by some dude or whatever, you know, C.A. Peterson, and jointly owned with his son, I got a human interest story. This page should be linked to either be much longer, with photographs going all the way back to the very first day they opened up in their tiny little shop, all the way to their factory today. The human interest element to this would attract attention, might even attract publicity, especially if they got behind it with a very minor outreach publicity effort. If they brought in a publicist, even a consulting publicist, and spent a few $100 with them.
And they organized it by industry also. So, because I finally found some of the industrial verticals to which they apply: automotive, electronics, aerospace, ammunitions, medical components, pharmaceutical. If within their history, they're showing me the history of their impact on the automotive industry, the history of their impact on electronics, on the aerospace industry. Oh wow! Now it's clicking for me who they are and the enormity of their importance.
And we would have missed that. We would have totally missed that had we not gone to that page.
And this is their catalog. Yeah, exactly. And I think they're sitting on top of a real history story. And wonderful. I'm so glad you saw that, Eric. But that is very much that could be a wonderful story.
And I don't even mind that this is a PDF.
Guys, we have about a minute left.
Okay, and I don't even mind that this is a PDF. And let me also mention, and I hope that they've done this on this PDF, is a lot of people forget that in a PDF. First of all, Google can crawl and reward links in PDFs. Look no further than for your proof of that, of when you see a PDF in Google search results. Yep. Bingo. Yep. Unless it could crawl it and recognize it, it couldn't have put it there. But a lot of times people will create a PDF and they won't interlink it. Well, if someone is reading this PDF online and what they're looking for is punches and dies, why can I not click that right now to get back to your catalog? So that's just a missed opportunity.
This should be a clickable PDF.
Absolutely. You got to remember that and it's easy. It's not like it takes a great amount of technical acumen. And let's see. So we got an email. They know how to do it. This is a clickable email address right here.
Email and a clickable domain as well.
And they got a clickable domain right there in WPP Punch. But what they didn't do is within their PDF, as I go through this, is take me to their very specific product pages for punches and dies. And we know that they have a punches and dies product lines because I'm pretty sure I saw it right here under their products. I thought I saw punches and dies. Maybe I didn't. There it is.
I really want to see videos of this stuff in action. I want to see what it does and where it is. I would love to see a YouTube video. Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
Do it with your iPhone. An iPhone 6 will take a better video than a professional camera of 10 years ago would have taken. But anyway, I think so. What I would say is not only do they have plenty of potential outreach targets they could go after now, but they have some content issues that they might need to look at that would enable them to attract an even wider variety of links, especially from a historical perspective.
Yes, yes. And then, you know, we talked about the trade verticalization of a couple different folks so far. Again, you know, the obviously the automotive industry is going to have trade shows. The electronics industry, aerospace, metal forming, all of these, I presume, have their own custom trade shows. So
absolutely.
I would go back and say, who are our best customers? Where is the largest profit margin? Who do we want more of? And really sink your teeth into that particular vertical. Where are we already loved the most? And then really invest in that vertical and building a presence by being out and about at these conferences and events.
Yeah, and now let me try something real quick, and I may fail. Now let me try something that normally I advocate against, which is links for the purpose of Google search rank. We see that they're located in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. We see that they've been around for 60 years, and it was a father and son started business, and they've never left Connecticut. I'm going to do a real quick search on Connecticut Historical Society. Hold on. I'll let Google fix it.
I'm going to load up our next site while you're doing that. And after we check that, we're going to move on.
There we go. We know we've got a business that was started and founded there half a century ago. So what I'm curious about is what kind of companies they highlight, what kind of stories their interest, family history, that's interesting. Well, that's a family-started business. I'd have to look further to see if it genuinely represents something. But what I'm interested in is that there is a Connecticut Historical Society museum and library. Would it probably be fair to say that there might be an element to what they do that has to do with companies that were founded and started and have a history in Connecticut? I would be all over this site looking for a potential opportunity. Business, they got business partners? What kind of business partners?
Right.
We got, okay, yeah, you could argue that's a paid link. What a great example. And I've done this before. I've contacted nonprofit organizations and told them, listen, you've got this awesome business partner page and you're charging people a significant fee to be a partner, but you're not even making them hyperlinks. Do you realize that if you would turn those into hyperlinks, your donations would increase? And they're like, what do you mean? Because if those were hyperlinks, they actually help those companies. What do you mean? Well, not only can I click on it and go to those companies, but Google actually is likely to reward that link. You're kidding. I mean, a lot of times these little out-of-the-way, middle-of-nowhere nonprofits have no clue that they're sitting on a pot of gold. And I'm not lying. There have been times when I have gotten on the phone and contacted a nonprofit that had a page just like this and said, here's who I am, here's what I do. Please just give me 60 seconds of your time. I don't want a penny. I want to tell you something that will help you make more money in donations. And usually they're skeptical, but it's the reality. You look at this page, why aren't these clickable? So anyway, I just mentioned that, and I'll shut up now because we've gone over again. And
we're going on to Megan shared it, Uncorked Ventures. So these are wine clubs, wine gifts, and wine gift baskets. So these are always, whenever I see stuff like this, I always sort of get almost stumped, because what we have is a middleman website. We have packaging, wine gifts, gift baskets. How do we? What kinds of significance? So as far as like, reviews is obviously one sort of thing that I think could be workable. Another would be looking again sort of historically and saying history of wine, history of winemaking, how to make your own wine. So a lot of these, if you have high quality content that's highly useful, you can promote that. But I'm trying to think along the lines that Eric does, which I do a lot. I try to think like Eric. Where how do we make this more? How do we connect? How do we plug this into a place that is going to potentially drive business for them?
we go straight to, there's a number of things I'm going to do, but the very first thing I'm going to do is go to their menu where it says wine clubs, because my little link building antenna is already vibrating.
Okay.
So wine clubs in this particular case was not what I thought it was going to be. This is their own, they have their own wine club. Join this club and you get this per shipment or this per shipment or this per shipment. What I was more interested in is, first of all, the best of wine country, which means they're probably located, if I click contact us, I'm going to get a California address, San Mateo. Okay, not surprised at that. So I got a San Mateo address. Are you seeing my screen or do I need to share it?
Oh, I can see you're on the contact us page? Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
Yeah.
Excellent. They're in San Mateo, California. So first thing I'm going to do is I am going to do a quick search on California wine clubs, because there are people all over California that have wine clubs, and so we're going to. Some of these will be competitors, but more what I'm looking for is. The individuals who, Wine of the Month, Wine Clubs, Kendall Jackson, no, a guide to joining the best wine clubs from Forbes. That's interesting. They've got one. Are they in it? Our wine clubs from California Red. No, let me do a chart. Let me change that search to California Wine Resources, Links, Vineyards.
There, I think you're hitting on one thing is if these are California wines, would be the links from the vineyards themselves.
Yep, Yep.
And then also asking what are the vineyards already linking to? What kinds of links do they add on their website? Do they have a resources page that's a guide to bed and breakfasts near the vineyards?
Yep. And there's my ridiculously long Google search: California wine resources, links, vineyards, in URL resources. Because basically what I've just told Google to do is, and this is just human nature. Sometimes when people put together a resource page, they actually name it resources.html, or resources is in the directory, like this one is. Basically, I've said, Google, only surface for me stuff that's got the word wine resources or resources somewhere within the URL path. Now, do I know that I can get on some of these websites? I don't know, but let's take a quick look at CaliforniaVineyards.com, California Wine Country. Some of these may be just horrifying spam, but some of them may be pretty good. California Vineyards, where great wines begin, okay? The Association of Growers, California Code of
Sustainable wine growing. That's
okay, Family Winemakers of California. Seriously?
Oh,
And now, is that client a family winemaker? I don't know. Again, in 5 minutes, we can't do a complete vetting of the site to identify the targets, but we can at least steer people and show people our way of thinking. If they are a family winemaker and they're not a member of this site, gotta be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely gotta be. So I'm going to go back to that again for that search there, which was a fairly basic search if you think about it. California wine resources, links, vineyards, in URL resources. So now we got this Wine Institute press room external links. Are they ever going to get a link from the regional winery? I don't know, but maybe.
I wonder about how the Wine Institute was on there, but how can we make the wine selections that are going to possibly be in there? Can we get someone from the Wine Institute or from can we find or make celebrities from the vineyards and have them do the selection for February? February is going to be selected by this guy, and this guy. They're just going to pick their 3 favorite bottles for for $50, a $50 bottle. So we are able to then weave in some of these experts from outside of the website, outside of the company, and now we've got some selections from people who are perceived as wine experts, and then they may. We would ask them, of course, to link to the fact that they were one of the selectors for February's Wine of the Month Club.
I like that. I like that.
Guys, we have 1 minute left.
Yeah, check out the About Us page here, where we find out that it is a family business.
Oh.
Right here. Remember what we talked about before? These family winemakers of California. Now, it doesn't look like they make their own. I'm not sure if they do or not, but they might. But look at this: Uncorked Ventures provides its customers with the best wines from California, Washington, and Oregon. A great majority of these wines come from small artisan producers. Bingo, interviews, featurettes on their website. Let's go to their blog and see if they do it. The biggest mistake I see some people make when they do this is they make their blog all about them, and the blog needs to be all about the others.
Right.
And take the spotlight and turn it to a 180. Quit bragging about how awesome your site is, and brag about how awesome the people are who are supplying the wines to your site.
Right.
So
mostly
they're doing some of it. Lennox Vineyards, an introduction to that's good. So they are featuring their vineyards. This is the kind of stuff I want to see.
These guys are really pumped up about California wines.
And I want
awesome.
I want them to do more of that. I want them to do more. I want them to get out on the road so they're not just sitting here behind the Cabernet colored or whatever. Go out to these vineyards. Do a little video of the. I just think that there's an element to this. You know, I go through their website and it's like I'm not seeing, you know, I see the gift basket and that's fine. I can see pictures like that on Amazon. I'm not saying it's the same gift basket. I'm just saying one of the things that would make this site so special, I get the sense that they're ignoring, or if it's on this site, they've buried it. I like this more than anything because they finally gave me some personality. I see the two guys. I see Mark and Mark. I see Matt and Mark.
And are they getting links from the sites whose wine they reviewed?
Exactly.
From the vineyards. Now, one thing I want to point out as well, folks, wine education. They have a wine education section that is talk about buried. This is on the About Us page, and then I click over, and now I start to see what's looking like a directory, sort of a directory section. Growing regions and AVAs. Don't know what that is. We're going to look at California AVAs. Now I'm starting to see a bunch of different areas that have some description about this. This is great. This is a wonderful starting point. It's buried and I think should be really thought through and really thought about because there's the beginnings of something important here.
Garrett, you hit the perfect word a few seconds ago. You said buried. And it happens so often that some of the freshest, most engaging content on a website ends up buried because people are so determined to try to get people to their shopping cart in as few clicks as possible.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, no, I don't want to put that content on my front page. Then they might not click that gift basket. Why do I want them to spend 10 minutes reading about us? I want them to click this button and then click checkout now.
Buy now. Yeah. And to be fair, you know, we're in business to make money, but also I think that there could be a bit more education on the homepage, a bit more. I think I love the latest reviews. See our latest review.
You know, for me personally, the page you're showing right now, the most interesting picture on that page is not the bottles of wine. I know what wine bottles look like. To me, the most interesting picture is those two guys in T-shirts. Yeah. I want to know more about them. I want to know about the growers. I want to know more about the founders. People tend to try to turn the internet into bits and bytes. People think links are these inanimate objects and currency, but links are nothing more than the online manifestation of some person's passion and desire to share something that they care about. And Google finally realizes that. The only reason I know this is because I was doing this for 4 years before there was a Google. So when I started, there was InfoSeek, Lycos, AltaVista, and somebody else, WebCrawler or Hotbot. So if you were promoting this client back then, pre-Google, when you weren't doing it for links and search rank because none of the search engines cared about search rank, what would you do? Well, you would have to highlight on the human interest component. You would have to identify those target sites that would have as much of a passion for wine as these guys do. Yeah. And that's ultimately where we are again today. Finally, it's like we've come full circle, and even though I've been doing this 20 years, it's almost like, thank God, it feels like my first year in business again because everybody finally is realizing spam won't work, or if it does, I'm running too big a risk of getting blown up. It's like Will Critchlow says, real company, and I won't say the curse word. You know, what works is real company.
Will Reynolds.
Yeah. Yep, or Will Reynolds. I'm sorry. Yeah, real company. That's what works. You know.
No, I want to point out too. I know I think we've got one left after this. So these guys are brothers-in-law, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. They go treasure hunting into California, Oregon, and Washington, wine country. So I want to go along on these trips. There is a show, a Food Network show in the making here, right? This is, these guys like digging in and sniffing out these untold gems of wine.
They don't even need the Food Network with YouTube.
Right.
They can have their own show on YouTube. I mean, if Justin Bieber can get famous via YouTube, these guys can. They actually have talent.
Right.
Sorry, Justin, if you're watching.
And wine. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
No, this is great. I think this site is wonderful. Now we've got there's a lot of wonderful things to bring out here. And I'll be honest, when I first hit the front page, I didn't get any sense of that. I didn't get any sense of excitement about who these guys are. And we talk about it, I want that picture right here. Learn more about us, and then shop now. But what I really want to buy is these guys. That's who we're really buying.
Well, yeah. What they're missing is they think that their site is about wine, but their site really isn't about wine. Their site is about the passion that Matt and Mark have about wine.
Yeah.
And I can understand and I respect them, because you don't want to make it seem like you're egotistical and every picture is about you. But what I'm saying is that I don't get the sense of the personality that this site could convey.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They're sitting on top of a treasure chest there.
I think so.
Let's get our last one. Let's see who we've got. Cinnamon Kitchen.
Food.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting hungry.
I need some wine and cinnamon rolls.
Cinnamon stat. Let's see. Lunch at your desk. Oh my gosh, this is great. I'm really actually clicking on that. So it looks like I'm looking at a restaurant website. I want to make sure it's in London, unfortunately, so it might be a while before my food arrives. Let's see. These guys look really good, delicious. I mean, I'm looking at non-diners pricing. I don't know what that is. So early bird pricing is £12. So they look like maybe mid-range pricing. Let's see. So they're a local restaurant. So of course, any of your local partners, who are you buying your food from? This is, your vendors. I think is a sort of a natural place to start looking for link opportunities. Let me see what they've done.
Yeah, they're a local company, but the other element about what they do with this lunch at your desk is they're going to bring it to you, apparently. Let me click on lunch at your desk.
Oh man, it's so good.
Okay, Cinnamon Kitchen
order for 11 a.m. on a weekday
has launched lunch at your desk for the stressed out city.
Pick up the takeaway. You pick it up, but still, man, this is the kind of thing where if they did a giveaway on Fridays and they found out some, I think could be big on social media. But if they did a giveaway lunch for one person and they found a way to incentivize links or social shares or stuff on Facebook, they could. I think they could do. They could really help things pick up. I love it.
There are so many. Any profession where people are chained to a cubicle or chained to a desk and don't even feel like they can take that hour lunch break because they're so busy. I don't care whether you're an accountant, especially people who get paid by the hour and want to sit there at their desk and eat lunch and still keep that as a billable hour. I mean, attorneys, or I guess barristers or whatever they call them there, but they even mention weddings here. I don't know if I'll be able to pull this off in 5 minutes, but I love that what they're doing is taking this idea of not just fast food, but actually really award-winning cuisine,
right,
and bringing it right to your desk.
Right. No, they don't bring it to you. It's pickup. It is actually It's actually pickup. But if you order before 11, you can probably schedule the time it should be ready, so that you don't have to wait for the food to be prepared by the time you get there. So they just queue up the orders, and then you can come in and pick it up. So you don't have to. They say it doesn't take your whole hour. I mean, I love the delivery idea too. I think that absolutely should be built into that in some way, if possible.
With
third-party service. Yeah.
The Uber.
Yeah, there you go. Uber, exactly.
Except the Uber driver would take a bite out of the steak, and then all hell would break loose. This is, I see what there may be also issues related to if you've got drivers in cars, you got problems with liability and insurance and all that kind of stuff. But regardless, the fact that they're still willing to do the takeaway is, for me, I want to go out and I want to find business associations, whether it's the London Marketing Association, the London Association of Accountants, the London Businessman's Club.
Yeah.
In fact, you know what I'm going to do real quick? I'm going to toggle, I don't know if you're seeing my screen or not, but I'm going to toggle over to Google UK real quick. And I'm going to do a quick, and I'm going to tell Google that I want my search results. Okay, Google UK, and then I'm going to do the London Businessman's Men's.
While you're looking at that, I'm going to talk about this really quickly. They've got a cookbook.
Go for it.
They've got a freaking cookbook. This is amazing. Cinnamon Kitchen, the cookbook. Okay, I mean, this is, if you haven't gotten local book reviewers in London to take a look, or within the local newspapers, I would definitely seek those folks out. I would seek out local London cuisine bloggers, of whom I believe there's got to be a few.
Oh gosh, yeah.
They had mentioned they've done blog outreach in the past, but that's one of those things. And then inviting those folks in to come for food and review. I think they mentioned that they've done that as well. They've got they have classes. They offer classes.
Oh, there's
cooking and cocktail making. Both of those again would be review opportunities or kind of incentive opportunities for links. Potentially, provide us with a link and we'll give you a free cocktail masterclass. I don't know what the cost is for them, but that's one of those things you could look at.
This site already has done a great job. I mean, this site would give that site would give us a tremendous amount of potential fuel to go after. Now, I don't know, this London Business Journal. This came up from my Google. I did a quick Google search on London Business Journal or London Business Magazine. I can't remember, but let's go ahead. Let's go to this one first, Business First Magazine, because what I'm interested in is the kind of people who are busy, who have the kind of money to pay probably the little extra fee you're going to have to pay, or are willing to pay for that. London's Business Magazine, articles, opinion, news, blog, respect, agenda, volunteer, subscribe, outlets, advertise. Obviously, the Cinnamon that site could advertise, but the other thing I would look for here is what kind of business profiles do they do. Then the other thing I would suggest is Business First Magazine. Let me go to the bottom and let me find out about us. Oh, wait, let me go back. There it is. You know what I do? I would call them. There's their address right there. I would contact them and say, you know what, fellas? It looks like you guys are maybe about 5 minutes from us.
Mm.
We've got lunch here waiting for you. No charge. Come get it. What? You've got lunch here. Come and get it. No charge. It's our way of introducing who we are to you, because we are very interested in partnering with Business First, London's Business Magazine, whether it's via advertising or any other ventures that you and I can cook up, no pun intended, because your audience is important to us and we want our food to be important to you, and the best way we could think to reach out to you would be to call you and say, come and get your lunch. No charge. So things like that are, whether or not they're willing to do it, knowing that there may not be anything come from it, but when you think in terms of what's the audience that reads this magazine, well, my hunch is it's people sitting in an office in London. They're clients.
Right.
The very people who would need to be, who do you want to know about Cinnamon Kitchen? Oh, I don't know. Anybody who reads this magazine.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. I think about tourist lists or must-visit restaurants if you're visiting London. They know it's a popular tourist destination. So if they can get on some of those lists, I think again that's going to be some networking and some getting the right people in to the restaurant, and then working to get listed on some of the. I mean, just search for top restaurants in London from the U.S. searches. And look at or wherever you're seeing a lot of clientele come in from, if they are tourists, and see who's ranking there, and then get on those pages. Try to get yourself onto those lists or onto those websites and so on.
Yep, absolutely.
We've been about 5 minutes on this one.
Okay.
All right, and I know we've gone about a half hour over, so I hope that our listeners don't matter. But you know what they're hearing is that even an hour and a half, 90 minutes into this. I mean, this is why you and I think, get on so well, is that we would do this until our wives finally call us or text us and say,
get down here,
get in the house and get something to eat. You haven't eaten in 3 days. But I do want to say something, and I hope you won't be mad at me for saying this. Neither Garrett nor I advertise or promote a very specific kind of high-end strategic service. Garrett and I team up and have conference calls and screen shares with selected clients where we can delve extremely deep, do a very deep dive, starting with competitive analytics, on-site analytics, developing linking strategies, having regular monthly consults, where we will work together, both Garrett and I, on your particular website or websites and projects. You will not find any information about that particular offering on either of our websites, and there's a reason for that. And the main reason for that is it's not cheap. The other thing is we have no interest in offering that to everybody in the world. There are only certain types of websites for whom our types of strategies, our types of ideas, I'm not going to say will work, but it takes a certain type of client who is willing to hear what we have to say and take at least some pieces of it and be willing to implement it. Otherwise, don't bother calling us, because you've gotten a sense over the last hour and a half what type of things we can do. Garrett's worked with some very famous sites. For those of you who don't know, I was the guy Jeff Bezos hired to be the very first publicist for the initial launch of Amazon.com books when they launched for the very first time. I've worked with everybody from the Wall Street Journal to National Geographic to Discovery, but I also love working every week with mom and pops because I'm a one-person business. I got 3 kids to feed. Garrett has a couple kids to feed as well. If you would like to get both Garrett and I together on the phone and help you with your site, and that's something that sounds appealing to you, reach out to us privately and let us know what your situation is, and let's talk. So Garrett, thanks for letting me do that.
Absolutely.
I hope that the people that listen today at least got a sense of some of the thought processes we go through. Obviously, you can't solve everybody's link building problems in 5 minutes, but at the same time, you can show people that there are opportunities out there if they're willing to look past the gold, silver, and bronze link building packages that don't work, never should have worked, wish they hadn't have ever been invented, and are willing to really get their fingers onto the keyboard and work with us to make things happen.
Absolutely. We look forward to working with you guys on that type of consulting basis, and we'll work out what the package needs to look like based on your needs. But it'd be a lot of fun. One of my favorite things is just getting to talk with Eric. I love it. So as often as possible, I like to talk with him. So being able to get paid while that happens would be better. That's the only thing that can make it any better. No.
Well, I can't say the name of the client. I can't say the name of the client, but let me just say that Garrett and I had enough success for one major book publisher with a project that they had that a highly technical book is now in its 2nd printing and on the bestseller list at Amazon, and the people we were working with probably didn't even know what Twitter was. Yeah. So we've got some ideas. Will they work for everybody? No. But
if you think they work for you, get in touch with us.
Yeah, holler at us.
Me or Eric. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
And if we don't think we can help you, we'll tell you.
Yeah. Don't worry.
We will.
Eric, this has been great. I've had a blast. One thing we've learned is that we go long, so we probably will limit the number of sites next time. I think we should go less than 10, but we'll talk about that after wrap up.
Now does this thing, because it's a live video on air, a hangout on air, does it end up over at YouTube automatically?
Yes, okay. It does.
Cool.
So we'll be sending that link out. Everyone, thank you so much. If you stayed along this far, I'm just so impressed, and thank you for attending. And Megan, you can go ahead and sign us off now.
Oh, I got to say one more thing, Megan. Sorry, don't sign me off. Garrett, I use your new tool that helps people identify the news writers, journalists.
Yes.
That's part of your
press list builder.
Your press list builder. Wicked cool. That was awesome.
Thank you, Eric.
I hope some people listening here will check that tool out at Citation Labs, and then right after they do that, subscribe to Link Moses Private on my site, and then you'll make Garrett and I have a very Merry Christmas.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, everybody.
Cheers.